Hey everyone, welcome back to another Godzilla Battle Line video. Now this is going to be an extra long video. We have a ton to cover today, and this is the unit investment guide of, February of 2023. The very first unit investment guide actually was a year ago, so shout out to that first investment guide. What this video is going to teach you what are good characters to invest in, especially if you're just starting the game. This could even go for some mid-game players and high-ranked players, whales. This doesn't matter for you whales, but I hope you enjoy the video. This is really just trying to help you optimize what characters you are leveling up in Godzilla Battle Line. You could argue that, any of these characters could get a substantial buff or overhaul or rework or whatever to make them insanely usable. I would argue that 9 out of 10 buffs and nerfs that Toho makes are inconsequential and don't really fundamentally change any units, except for, we had a few that were really, really good. Nothing that was, too incredible. So I think it's safe to say that the long-term and short-term investments and the avoids are probably going to remain firmly placed in those spots for months to come without a substantial change to a character. Now, if there is a substantial change to the character, that will be covered in a buff and nerf video or whatever when that time comes, and then this guide will be remade eventually. But for February of 2023, and I'm going to assume at least for the next few months, this list should remain solid, barring no craziness comes to the game within the next few months, alright? So, long-term characters are characters that you're going to want to, feel comfortable investing your gold in, your gems, your resources in. You can level them up, keep them on your team. They're going to take you a long way. Short-term characters are characters that you're going to use for a bit in the early ranks in the mid-game, but once you hit that high-end gameplay at the end, like the endgame content, you're not going to really use them at all. They're good to invest in the short run, but don't overly invest into these characters. And then avoid are characters that are just not good now, never really been good before. I would probably avoid them like the plague. Do not invest into them unless there's some substantial rework. Now, this isn't a tier list of what units are the best, the worst, and the most mid. This is just how far is your gold going to take you? What's the most optimal path to success in the game? So let's just jump right into it. I hope you guys learned something. This list is going to be in no particular order. I'm just going to be placing things as I see them. There's not going to be a hierarchy or anything, and all of these are in alphabetical order until Zeton. I think until Zeton, and then all these are just whatever I put in. So let's get to it. Choppers. Avoid. Avoid the choppers. Not very good. The human vehicles or the human machines and stuff at the moment are not incredibly helpful to the content in this game. They're really not super strong outside of helping you mitigate some damage in All-Star Battle. The same could be said for the M-Bot base, but the M-Bot base is a little bit better. So choppers is an avoid. They're not very good. They don't really do anything super helpful. At least the M-Bot is stun. These do not. Anguirus in the long term. Anguirus W's across the board. 4 cost, insane health pool. You get him. I think he's one of the first characters you're just given in the game when you start. Anguirus is a character you can take from day 1 all the way to your final day of playing. He's a phenomenal unit. His health is insane, and he gets a 3% health boost in studio mode, which is one of the bigger health boosts in the game. He already has a massive health pool, and he's not a 4-star, so Anguirus, very solid investment. Have fun using him because he's a great character. Next is Batra. Phenomenal. Batra's phenomenal. Always has been for months and months and months and months. This is a no-brainer. Not a lot of characters are going to be able to give you attack boosts on the field. Batra is one of them. It's a 30% boost if I'm remembering correctly. It could be 25. I'm fairly certain it's 30. I never remember what Batra's boost is. But regardless, you can apply a boost, and it's awesome. There could be an argument said that now with GMK Godzilla being in the game, Batra is a little bit more obsolete than it used to be. I would counter that saying smart players, even with a GMK on the enemy team, are still going to get the most out of Batra. And if the enemy's not running GMK, doesn't matter. Batra is still going to be phenomenal. So Batra is staying in the long-term investment. I think it's insanely worth it to pick her up, or him, I guess, and just use him forever. Next is Biollante. Biollante is gas. Biollante is also super good. Biollante used to be, by far and away the best character in the game. Not the best anymore. Very solid damage, amazing AoE, an 80% damage boost in water. One of the most solid leader abilities we have in the game, and the most reliable as well. Biollante, love her. She's a great character. I use her, especially when the featured maps are like Skull Island or New York or London where there's water and you can place her in the water, she's great. You can make an argument saying she's not as good on Tokyo as the others, and that's true because you can't place her in the water, but that AoE that she provides is still extremely valuable. It's a complete 360. There's no other character that has a 360 AoE around them, just AoEs in front of them. So, Violante, awesome. You can keep him on your team pretty much forever, or make him your leader forever. Doesn't matter. Going to be a good pick. The Stealth Bomber. While the Stealth Bomber is a fun troll unit, I do not think the Stealth Bomber is a great investment, especially if you are a free-to-play player and you're trying to make the most out of your account. I would avoid leveling the Bomber altogether. I think the Bomber would only really be like something you upgrade if they actually made it a Stealth Bomber. Like Naranga can go invisible. If this Bomber went invisible, could be better, would probably be in the short term. The Bomber's not that great. If you have cash to spend or whatever, an extra, and you're just waiting for this stuff that's flying around, there's just gold you have, you could use it on the Bomber. I wouldn't recommend it. Normally, anything that really is running straight for the enemy leader or facilities with no way to defend itself is not great. So Gigan 72, wherever he is, would also fall under that category, but Gigan 72 can also be a leader. That's something that we're going to also have to take a look at. I'm going to clear my throat. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, water. Cool. Next is Burning Godzilla. Burning Godzilla had a glow up. Burning Godzilla I had in the Avoid for a long time, but Burning Godzilla is in a phenomenal unit now after several attack boosts, after a size increase to the explosions. Burning is great. Burning, I'm sure if you're playing the game right now, with the same month that this video goes live, he's everywhere. He's everywhere. Burning is a phenomenal unit. He's only going to get better the more levels you put on him, the more damage you put on him. A little unreliable with the explosion because it's time gated, but the explosion is very powerful. His normal attack is very powerful. He's anti-air. He's a bit tanky as well. 5 cost, really solid, all around. Awesome, 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 awesome unit. I like him a lot. I cannot wait to see what other combinations people come up with him, because right now the Bomb Squad team is kind of taking over the meta, and Fourth Angel is joining him there. Burning is great. If you have Burning, if he's one of your favorite characters, I know there's a few people in my community that they love Burning Godzilla. Awesome. You can put your G materials into Burning Godzilla. I wouldn't worry about it. He's pretty freaking sweet, Lois. Alright. Desghidorah. Some may argue short-term. I argue Desghidorah is a long-term investment, not because of you are wanting to invest in him to use him long-term, but because he literally is a long-term investment, because he only comes around for half of the month during All-Star Battle. Everyone can get one piece of him for free, and then he's available in the maps only while All-Star Battle is around. Or not the regular maps you get from the arena, they're maps in the store. That's an investment. That is literally a long-term investment. It takes months and months and months and months and months to level him up if you're not just dumping G materials into him. He is literally a long-term investment, but is he good? Yes, he is very good. Statistically, not statistically, but just going by the stats in the game, he is more powerful than King Ghidorah and Mecha King Ghidorah, but you have to then choose, do you want piercing and short range, or do you want a wide AoE spread cone, right? So, Desghidorah, pretty good long-term investment. I'm not worried about that. There are a lot of characters in this game that are really good long-term investments, and you know what? That's just going to be the trend. Short-term investments. I'm going to put every Destroya in the short-term investments. Destroya is good. I feel like we have not yet to realize Destroya's full potential, and Toho has actively been trying to buff the Destroyas. The Destroya Larva this season just got a buff. These ones have been getting buffed. Pretty much one of the Destroyas has been buffed every season since Destroya has dropped. For the most part, that's how it's gone. And it's still, like, mid. Destroya Larva always has been decent. Really isn't seeing any play in the high ranks because of the rampant AoE. And piercing, like Earth and Ultraman, have great piercing. They'll mop them up for sure. Kiryu AoE, the Burning Godzilla, Fourth Angel, GMK now. No real room for them in the high ranks. But as you're climbing, originally, if you want to use him, you can. I used Destroya Larva on my team probably until about Season 4. I like him. Mine is level 30. No problems with Destroy Larva. They are a menace, especially with this new buff that they got, a menace to single target attackers, but it's because of so much AoE at a high level of play that oh my god, that I'm putting them in the short term, for sure. Now, the rest of the Destroyers, they're alright. They're nothing too crazy right now. They're all decent, but I think that in the next maybe 3 to 4 months, they'll be brought up to like a more usable state. But if you want to use them in the mid game, there's no problem with that. Everything's pretty good in the mid game, but you're gonna stop leveling them eventually in favor of something else like Burning Godzilla. Dimension Tide, easy long-term investment. Dimension Tide has come a long way from being probably something that you would need to avoid to something that is mandatory on most teams. If you're using AoE in any capacity, you don't have to use it, but Dimension Tide makes AoE better. Not only is it an AoE that does damage, it also pulls targets to where you want them to go. So you can pull a Kamacuras Swarm and some enemies into a Burning Godzilla explosion and most likely kill the Kamacuras, pull them into a Fourth Angel, pull them into a GMK to put that damage debuff down on them. Huge. Dimension Tide has so much potential as a tech card that you could put it in most decks as your one spell and see really great success, especially if you're pulling things into some heavy hitters like pull a unit into GD9, pull a unit into Earth, you know? That's not something to laugh about. Dimension Tide does a solid amount of damage. That pull is great. Manipulating the board in a game like this is always something that you're going to try to want to do. Dimension Tide lets you do it for 4 energy. Awesome. Dorats. You know, I put Dorats in the Avoid. Last go round. But thinking they might be good short term. I don't know. I'm going to put Dorats in the Avoid again. I know you guys might hate me for it. I know there's some Dorat enjoyers in chat, or in the comments, not in chat, we're not live. But Dorat is fine. Dorat is great. I literally had this conversation yesterday where Dorat would be better if they could stop ground units from moving. The reason why everyone likes using the Kamacuras is because Kamacuras can stop ground units in their tracks. GD9 is coming at you, place the Kamacuras down, GD9 stops. He has to deal with the Kamacuras. You place the Dorats down, GD9 still goes. The Dorats are just going to follow him now and hit him. It's not amazing. It's fine for like Mothra Leos and stuff in the air, but Kamacuras will also make stuff in the air stop as well. So Dorats function the same as Kamacuras, except they are harder to get pieces for. They cannot stop some of the units that Kamacuras can stop, and they are more expensive to play. Maybe if they were 1 energy less, this would be a different conversation. I'm trying to think of where I want to put the energy base. I would say, I don't know. The energy base could be a long-term investment because it gets more health. It does not help you generate energy faster. It's still going to get pieced out by trains. I don't know. I feel like I want to put it in a Void because you don't have to level it up any to get the same energy gains. As long as your opponent doesn't have a way of dealing with it, then you get the same amount of energy either way. If you do invest in it, it's just going to have more health. It's not going to matter, right? The health isn't making it so you gain more energy. It's not lasting. I got an itch. It's not lasting any longer than it normally would be. It's just a matter of can your opponent kill it fast enough or not. And if they have trains, odds are, or Kiryu, odds are it's gonna go down anyway. I'm gonna lock in the ERB as a Void because you don't need to put any levels in it to get the most out of it. Because it's still just gonna die in like 1 hit regardless, right? Or 1 or 2 hits. That I might get flack for. GS Dragon might come for me on that one. Some of my Discord peeps might actually come at me for that. But I'm going to say that I am the world's biggest ERB hater. And I think that you don't need to level it up because you're still going to see the same amount of gains. If you do level it up, fine. I don't think you need to do it. If you do, that's fine too. Fire Rodan. Fire Rodan is getting moved into the long term. Because like we have seen time and time again in all of our arena matches. I'm sure you guys have seen Fire Rodan die and then evolve straight into this one, and basically will just guarantee that your opponent always has heals. No need for Psychic Chorus in the deck when you have Fire Rodan. You could use both, doesn't matter. Solid investment. You will always have a good character on the field, and he will always drop a heal. The heal does not seem to scale with the level. We don't really know how it works. Health doesn't seem to scale with the level, but the power of the Fire Ronin does. And he's great. Speed boost, gets the health. Awesome. We love to see that. Sunday. I used to have Sunday in long term, but I think I'm going to put it into the avoid, because now that we can't Sunday, there used to be a bug where you could Sunday stun a unit and slow them with anything else. It didn't have to be with Sunday. It was easy to do with Sunday. Like Sunday and Gigan 04, you could stun lock some characters forever, but they fixed that. So now the only purpose for Sunday is to just slow. But there are other characters that can slow, like Mega Gearus, Manila, that I think are better than Sunday. Sunday's fine. I really don't think that you're going to be seeing... You never see it in high-ranked play, usually. And if you do, it's people who are coming from the low ranks up for like the first time, and they're not really in tune with the meta yet. I'm going to say Sunday is an avoid. I'm not a huge fan of it. Giant Octopus would also be an avoid. And this isn't my bias talking, this is fact. The Giant Octopus is one of the better studio mode boosts in the game. It's a 25%. I think the only other character that gets that same amount of studio boost is... maybe it's Desghidorah? I can't remember off the top of my head who, but there's only one other character I believe that also gets a 25% boost to star point increase in the studio mode, and for that reason alone, I think Giant Octopus is a long-term investment, because you need to get him to what level 15 to allow him to hit max in studio, and then you have to invest in him in the studio mode at level 30, and then every studio mode battle you do with the Octopus, you're going to get like 125 star points minimum. 125, right? That's pretty big. Love that. Gigan 04, also long term. He has a 25% boost for speed in the studio mode, so he is going to be able to make it so your expeditions take a shorter amount of time, which means you are, getting your star points faster, or spending less gems to, go through the studio movie or whatever the hell it is, to just skip through it all. If you pay gems, that's great. He's also really good at high level play. He has really okay attack, but really nice DPS. So the higher the level he is, the more of a terror he becomes, and he will just shred up people in the arena. Really weak early on, so if you're a brand new player, maybe don't throw him on your team immediately, but if you keep getting pieces for him, level him up, because he's going to be super usable in the late game. And now the other Gigan, I would have put in the avoid, because he sucks. He's terrible. He's got a few buffs. He's still terrible. He's good in some niche strategies, like if you want to push the fourth angel all the way up, or burning Godzilla up, or whatever, right? Some fun strategies to be had with him. Overall, not an amazing unit, but he's going to go in the long-term investment because he's one of the better leaders in the game. He's a 3-star leader, which is awesome, and his ability is a tried and true winner for months and months, literally since day one, where it is he will speed up any of the ground units on your field to his base speed. It's awesome. You can just rocket up a G89 to the enemy team, which is the traditional thing that people do, or now you can do it with Burning Godzilla, the 4th Angel, GMK, just a monstrous group of characters that'll run up on you. So for his leader ability, I think he's a good long-term investment. In terms of a unit, I think he's an avoid for sure. G21. I had G21 in the avoid last I guess would technically be last year. I had him in the avoid because he was not around at the time that I did it. Not everyone had him. He's back right now until June, right? The end of June or the beginning of July, something like that. G21, I think he's a fine short-term investment now that people can get him again. He's not like a meta-defining character. He never has been. He's never been like the crux of a deck, the linchpin. He works really well when he works. He's extremely easy to counter. A lot of endgame players know how to counter him really well. He does succeed a ton in the early to mid game because people just aren't really ready to deal with him. They're not equipped to deal with that kind of power. As soon as he touches the leader, you have about like 7 seconds to deal with him before he just ends the game, right? The high-rank players know how to deal with it. Mid to low-range players do not. So I think he's a good short-term investment, but a lot of high-rank players are not using him. I don't think he's going to be good overall in the end game. Godzilla 1954 is a good long-term investment. He kind of has to be by definition. He transforms into other Godzillas, so Godzilla 1954 can become G89, Ultima, and then eventually Terrestris. He can become Kiryu, and then eventually Kiryu Kai. He can become GMK. He can become Final Wars. I don't think I'm missing anyone. I think that's it. I think that's all he can become. Oh, Burning. He can become Burning too. So by definition, he can become all those characters, but it's not at his level. He transforms into them at the level that you have them at with a 2 cost reduction. So if your Burning Godzilla is level 2, but your Godzilla 1954 is level 19, guess what? He's not becoming level 19 Burning. He's becoming level 2 Burning, right? Or I said this Burning was level 2. Yeah, whatever level your characters are, he will become. Not his level, the level that you have the characters at. That is an extremely long-term investment. He's very good. Last season, he was seeing a ton of play before GMK came into the game because we could get a low-cost Kiryu, and then he's extremely tanky. He's really good on his own. The units he can become are also really good, especially for the reduced price. But by definition, he's a short-term investment. Miller, no barking. Miller's trying to bark at the door. I don't know what he wants. Alright, so we had a cut, and Miller went ballistic, and it's because he wanted some uppies. Say hi, Miller. Yes, he's very cute. Alright, now that he has his uppies, we can continue. I put G89 into the long-term investment. He's the first character that you get in the game. He's an amazing leader. The only thing that is working against him right now, or I guess 2 things, is he's not really good on the field anymore because there's a ton of ways to counter him. He's literally the original best unit in the game. Everyone and their mother knows how to counter him, especially in the high ranks. And early on, a lot of players are using 4 stars as their leaders instead of the 3 stars because early on, like levels 1 through 5, the 4 stars have an insane health pool and it's going to help you a lot in the early game. However, mid to late game, you'll start noticing that the 3 stars at like level 30 and higher start they're overperforming the 4 stars. It takes a lot more effort at the high ranks to get a 4 star to have the same stats as G89 as the leader. So G89, amazing long-term investment. He's one of, if not the best leader in the game. Huge recommends to that. Listen, go for it. I highly recommend using him on your team. He's awesome. You get him immediately, so he's literally the safest investment in this entire game. Earth. Godzilla Earth. What a good unit. Sorry, I was minimizing a bunch of windows that just popped up, but Earth is awesome. I love him. I'm putting him in the long-term investment. Earth is going nowhere anytime soon. Without a substantial nerf to his health, he is not going anywhere. For 9 energy, you get an insane stat stick that not only is going to be a game ender for new game players. If you literally logged on today and your very first 4-star is Earth, you're chilling. Throw him in your deck and just let him run train because it's ridiculous. At level 1, he's like 4,000 health or something like that. It's insane. There's no way new players are going to be able to deal with him. And if you put a lot of G materials into him and a lot of levels and stuff into him in the high ranks, ridiculous as well. Extremely difficult to deal with if you are not equipped for huge punches of damage, right? The key to just beating the Earth is making sure your opponent can never summon him, and you just gotta put the pressure on your opponent. So if that's his weakness, chilling, because I'm pretty sure he also cannot be stunned. So, very good investment. I like Earth a lot. You will too, I promise. Earth is awesome. Terrestris and Ultima. There'll be some people that think he's a short-termer in the void. I don't think that. I think a lot of other, experienced players realize that Ultima is phenomenal, and especially with the rise of a lot of close-range units that explode coming up in the meta, Burning Godzilla, 4th Angel, GMK, having a character be able to damage units from a million miles away is a phenomenal ability to have. There's only one other character in the game that has range, at the time that this video goes live, that has range better than Ultima, and it's the Super X. Ultima does an insane amount of damage. His health is really close to Godzilla 1954 and GMK, and that's really tanky for a long-range unit. He's super tanky, he does a lot of damage, he's going to be able to help you counter a lot of meta pushes. He's not going to be really too super useful against like Fire Rodan and Leo that can get in his face really quickly because he relies on the enemy's units being really slow and closer to mid-range units than getting right up in his face. He's going to have a problem when units are right in front of him, but from far away, it's really difficult to beat him because he might kill you before you get close enough to do so. He's great. I love him. One of my favorite characters in the game, if not my true full favorite character in the game. Ultima is awesome. Huge pog for him. Next, Hedera. Hedera is a long-term investment too. Hedera is really good. Hedera has kind of fallen off in recent months. I don't remember why. I can't remember if she got nerfed or not, but I think there's just better options now than her for AoE. She was awesome. I really like her. People still use her a ton. No reason not to. Hedera is great. I'm a big fan. So shout out to Hedera. Great DPS, or a great AoE is what I meant to say. The splash is awesome. The on-death explosion for the poison is awesome. She's a little slow. She's really easy to evolve though from the mature or from the flying stage to the mature stage. So very good investment as well. Obviously, you're not going to put all these characters on your team at a time, but investing in Hedera is good for the future. Toho loves to buff Hedera, so I'm sure she'll receive another buff in the near future. There's no reason why she wouldn't. It's just something that Toho does. Next is going in the avoid section, and it is Jet Jaguar 73. I know the Jet Jaguar cult from Discord is going to line up in the comments or flame me on the Discord for it, but I do not care. Not great. First form is good. First form is going to give you a damage boost. Awesome. It's like a perpetual one because as soon as it goes down, he reapplies it. Great. When he evolves, he becomes this close range fighter that does not give a damage boost. If they retained the damage boost from this one to this form, could be game changing. He actually could be a phenomenal unit. It's not happening. He just becomes worse when he evolves. Not worth it. Not worth the gems to upgrade this 4-star. Definitely not worth the G materials. I wouldn't do it. I would avoid this Jet Jaguar completely. One of my favorite character models in the game he's super, super colorful compared to everything else that has happened like in the game. Like look at all these muted colors, browns, reds, like blacks, grays. He's red, blue, gold, silver. He looks awesome. He looks awesome, awesome, awesome. Jet Jaguar, super good addition to the avoid tier. But a good addition to the game visually. But not something you're going to want to invest in. Now, Jet Jaguar's singular point, I'm putting in the short term. Very good. Not really seeing a ton of play in the high ranks because there are characters like Ultraman running around that's going to take his shields away in one shot. He can deal a lot of damage. He just can't dish out a lot. His AoE is good. His DPS is good. I'm actually, if I remember correctly, he has a higher DPS than Bylante does when she's not in water. When she's in water, she's the highest DPS in the game. But when she's not in water, he is better. He can also tank an infinite amount of damage. However, once he runs out of his shield and he can't block those 2 free hits, he goes down like instantly. Not great. Not great. So, Jet Jaguar singular point, almost hit Ultraman. Jet Jaguar singular point is going to remain in the short term because while he is fun to use, he's not really going to help you out super late game. If you're like a whale or you've been playing for like year plus and you have yours at like 20 or something like that, you can use any of these characters at that high rank, but just in terms of the regular player, I wouldn't really invest too much into him for sure. Now, Kamakura Swarm, I see this daily. I see daily on Reddit especially, and when new people come into my Discord, new players, almost every single one of their decks has the Kamakura Swarm. Do not invest in the Kamakura Swarm. This Kamacuras is far and away the better unit. 110%. This Kamacuras is phenomenal. S tier unit. This is 5 cost, and they die super quickly. This is 2 cost, and they die super quickly. This is better. This Kamacuras leagues better than this one. This one costs so much to drop only to die, and I'm pretty sure these ones have better stats too. You get less of them, and this is a silver unit. This is a bronze. This is easier to level up. In every sense of the way, the regular Kamacuras is significantly better than the Swarm. Do not upgrade the Swarm. Upgrade the regular Kamacuras. This will be in your deck pretty much forever. It's a staple of the game. Like 90% of players are using it. Amazing unit. Kids. Kids had a buff recently. Didn't really matter. I'm putting Kids in the avoid section. At the moment, Kids is a fun gimmick unit if you want to do like haha joke deck, haha funny deck, haha teleport Earth, haha teleport Zeton. Sure. Whatever you want. Not really good in the meta, not really usable, and it's super easily telegraphed. Like as soon as I see a bunch of units and then I see Kids teleport them, I just stop spending my energy and I wait to see where Kids is going to put them, and then I just dump my units on there so there's a big team fight and I win. Extremely easy to telegraph. No bueno. Do not like it. Next, Caesar. King Caesar's pretty good. King Caesar's fallen off a little bit because Leo is now much better than he used to be, and there's a lot of flyers in the game now, so Leo can hit the flyers. Caesar's really good against the ground units. I would say he's a little bit worse this season because of all the exploding units that he's going to hit and explode into, but the same could go for Leo. He's good. He's good, but he's not as good as he used to be, but he's still a very good investment. So I'm going to put him here. You can feel comfortable leveling up Caesar, especially if you like him a lot. Now, King Ghidorah and Mecha King Ghidorah. They're good long-term investments. They literally do the same thing that Des Ghidorah does, except they're easier to get pieces for, right? You can get Mecha King Ghidorah pieces all the time. You know, King Ghidorah evolves into Mecha King Ghidorah. There's not really a huge difference in stats between the two of them. They're good. They're not meta anymore. They used to be really, really good. Now they're just all right. You can feel comfortable leveling them up in the long term, for sure. They're going to be usable forever. Same goes for Kiryu, and I guess in turn, Kiryu Kai. Both of them are really good. You can't do one without the other. Kiryu and Kiryu Kai are always going to be good. Everyone gets Kiryu for free now. When you start the game, after your 3 days, do all the missions, you're going to get a Kiryu, and then you get Kiryu Kai. Awesome leader with the Absolute Zero Cannon. Takes 90% of an enemy's health, right? That can work on the leaders, so you can wait for overtime and use on the enemy leader, take 90% of their health and train bomb them, missile them, Mogera them, whatever the hell you want to do, and just win. So he's a great leader, and they're both great on the field. I like Kiryu more than I like Kiryu Kai, personally. I kind of wish they were separate units so I didn't have to use Kiryu Kai, but they're both really powerful, either as a leader or on the field. Invest in them from, you know, your first week of the game. You're not going to see a downside. Unless they get absolutely kneecapped in a future update, you're chilling. Kong. Now, I also had Kong in the Avoid section last year because he wasn't available. However, now he is available, and I think Kong is going to be a long-term investment. Because Kong is a really good leader. Kong's leader ability is like, what, 2 cost? It's like 2 energy, it's like 120-second cooldown or something like that, and it's give a 20% damage boost to all units on the field, on your side of the field, I'm sorry, or that are your allied units. That's a 20% damage boost. Oh my god, I'm having like a stroke reading the Kong biography. Oh my god. Kong gives a 20% damage boost to all of your allied units that are 4 cost or higher. That's awesome. It's like a budget version of G89. Cool. Cool. We love to see it. We love that. I'm not even sure Kong's is 2. I think Kong's might be 1. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% certain. But that's what his description is correct. Kong is great leader. I like him a lot. And now that we can actually unlock him again, I think he's going to be a good long-term investment. In a few months from now, we redo this video. He's going to go into the Avoid section because you can't get him. But in the meantime, now that we can get him from maps, Kong is good. Kong is a good one to buy. The Markalite Cannon I'll avoid. A lot of people use it and take it up in the high ranks. I promise you it sounds like a good idea, but something with this slow of an attack speed that cannot move is not a good idea. Because what's going to happen is units like Gigan are going to stun it and kill it, or trains are just going to kill it in one shot, or Kiryu's going to drop the missiles on it and it's going to die, Mogera's going to come through, it doesn't matter. Point is, it's slow, and it can't move, so it cannot really defend itself in between the attacks, it cannot get out of the way of an explosion or anything like that, it's just going to get mopped up instantly. This could be fun. I really don't think that it is going to be meaningful. You know what, I'll even put it in short term. It's fine early game. You're not going to use it. You are not going to use it in the long term. But it's fine early game because it'll kill some things. But late game is just really not going to do what you want it to do. Now the Emba I think is also short term. There's a lot of people that bring it into the end game, and that's fine. It does work really well. But I think that out of all of the units in the game, it's probably one of the ones that I would take last into the end game. I guess if you wanted to build a stun-only deck or like a base deck or something, then that is something you could do, but I don't know. I don't like it in the long-term pick. I'm going to put it in the short term, but out of all these short-term characters so far, this would be the one that I would take into the long-term first before any of these other ones. It's good. It gives you stun. It's better than the chopper because these tanks aren't just doing damage. They stun, which is awesome. And you can have a ton of tanks for a ton of stun, which could be really, really good, as opposed to the choppers that just show up and die. Now, that is not the same to be said for these guys, because this will give you several tanks, this will only give you 2, and they'll die in 1 hit. They do the same thing as this, except they die way faster, so the regular tanks are going into the avoid section. 2 years ago, maybe I would have put them in the long term, but now, not so much. Mechagodzilla 93 is a pretty good short-term character. It's like the tutorial monster. G89 is like the tutorial leader. Mechagodzilla is like the tutorial ground unit, right? He has anti-air, he has decent attack, he has decent health. He's good at everything, but he's not very good at one thing. He's kind of like a jack of all trades, and he falls off pretty fast because he's just like, he's showing the new players like, hey, this is like what a unit can do. Like, this is like the tutorial ground unit. And honestly, I'll put Rodan with him too. And we'll just skip to Rodan, because Rodan is like the tutorial flyer. He's like, hey, this is a moderately healthy flyer who's fast and does okay amount of damage. This is your default flyer. So these are like the archetypes for, ground unit and flyer. And then he's like the default leader, but he actually ends up being really good. Neither of these guys are too good, at least when this video goes live. Megaguirus, great long term. Megaguirus is a absolute hoss. We love her. She's great. She's always been pretty good. A really underrated unit, but being able to slow a speeding unit like a rushed unit is great. Being able to I don't even know. She's just good. I'm trying to think of an example where she would not fit, but I can't. And I'm trying to think of an example where she would fit, and I'm still blanking. But trust me, she is really good. I like her a lot. She's really tanky for a flyer. She has really good damage, and her slow effect, they buffed it recently, like a few months ago, to make it like bigger than it was. So that's pretty big, or I should say pretty huge. I like her a lot. She's really, really good on defense. I feel comfortable taking her into the higher ranks. She's going to do really well against some of the 5-cost flyers that are going to be in the air. She's going to really be able to deal with them. Manila. I think I'm moving Manila into the short term this time. Manila was in the long term. I really like Manila. After Manila's nerf to the attack speed, he's just never been the same. Manila's going to be short term. Manila, it seems like a fun idea. Can work well paired with like Super X and Ultima. But on his own these days, Manila is just not hitting the way he used to, unfortunately. So Manila is going to be moved to the short term investment. Missiles. Do not invest in the missiles. They are but like the trains, except worse. I think they cost more, and I think they do less damage. That's all that needs to be said. Don't do the missiles. Most common mistake I see is either the Kamakra Swarm or the missiles are being taken up by new players. Neither of them are good. Please stop, I beg you. Mogera, I think last time around I had Mogera in the short term, but I'm going to put Mogera in the long term. Mogera can be really good in the end game. He's not meta, but there's a lot of Kiryu leaders in the end game, and Mogera pairs really well with the Kiryu leaders. So being able to take Mogera up is going to be big. Not very impactful by himself, but in the right pairing, he can be extremely good, especially in a team fight. He just shows up out of nowhere and helps. He's pretty good. I'm going to put him in the long term, but out of all the long-term characters, I think he is the one that is most likely to go into the short-term investment. So now we have the Mothras. So I have them actually separated. I don't know why. I guess it's just alphabetical. So Mothra, Larva, and Mothra 92. I think there's an argument to be said that both of them are long-term investments. I personally don't really see them. I think only a handful of people are using her. I think she's a little underrated. She just got an attack boost as well recently, and that's been super helpful. I think she's slept on for sure. She does 10 hits every time she attacks. She's really easy to evolve. She's flying, so she can't be hit by some of the heavy hitters like Gigan, who would run through her small health pool, or GD9. She's good. She's not the best unit we've ever had, but she's good. So I think she's a pretty decent long-term investment. I think a lot of people are sleeping on her for sure. Mothra Leo, definitely a long-term investment, bro. Mothra Leo is crazy. Mothra Leo has been meta for months. Very reliable unit, super impactful to the meta. Putting him in the long term, very good unit. I really don't need to explain it. If you've been playing Battleline for any amount of time or watching this channel for any amount of time, you know that Leo is just a phenomenal pick. So shout out to Leo. You made it again to the long term. Naranga. Naranga was short term last go around. I'm putting him in the long term because he just got an attack boost. And Manila is bad now, which makes Naranga the most consistent stunner in the game. So I'm putting him in the long term because he's going to see a lot of play if you want to invest in him. He'll go away at some point, like all the other collaborations, like Ultraman, Evangelion, stuff like that. But he's in the game for now. Pretty good. Comfortable putting him there. Psychic Chorus, no-brainer, long-term investment. The more that you put into it, the more it's going to heal. It's 3 costs. You can put it anywhere on the board. Amazing. That's just amazing. You can place this heal anywhere and help your units out. Although I will say, early game, mid game, between levels like 1 through 20, the health isn't really incredible. But once you hit like level 25 and higher, the heals on this is really, really nice. So shout out to Psychic Chorus. You made it to the long-term investments, even post-nerf. Now, Shin Godzilla. Shin Godzilla is going to be mid. Shin Godzilla is a short-term investment. I would not put much stock into Shin Godzilla at all. The same boat as the Destroyers, where they introduced him and he was not very good, and like pretty much every season since, or every other season, they've tried to buff him in some capacity to make him more usable, and he's just really not. There are some players that have a high-level Shin that it's fine, and they're using it to their advantage, but they're the exception, they're not the rule. So, Shin is going in the short term. I wouldn't invest in him. I mean, if he's your favorite monster, go for it. That's not the smartest use of your G materials. No, sir. Space Godzilla always has been good. Space Godzilla is going to go in the long-term investment here as well, because especially with GMK now, he can replace the debuff with a buff, which is awesome. The crystals he'll spawn are great at taking aggro. He's always been a really consistent character. He's not seen as much play because Batcher kind of does what he does, but for a little bit cheaper. But with the rise of the Bomb Squad, Space Godzilla is seeing a lot more play. Space Godzilla, super awesome. You don't need to feel bad about investing into him. Super X, awesome unit. We talked about him a little bit earlier with Ultima. Godzilla Ultima is insanely long range. Range is the best stat in the game. Super X has the longest range in the game. Super X will definitely be able to help you in the current meta against characters like Ultraman or Burning Godzilla or Fourth Angel or GMK, because you're going to want to kill these units before they even get close to your characters or your leader. So Super X is going to help you do that. It's 5 costs. It used to be 3, which was crazy. And it used to have a faster attack. It was broken months and months and months. It was absolutely busted. It's since been nerfed. It's been nerfed for a while, but it's still really good. There are still some high-level players that use it, and a lot of people aren't prepared to deal with, not Psychic Chorus, Super X. So when there is a Super X in the field, you kind of have to shift your game plan to focus that up, because if you just leave it alone, it'll run through your whole team, and you won't even notice. Super X is awesome. Ultraman. No-brainer. Ultraman is a long-term investment. Ultraman is cracked out of his mind. He flies. He walks. He's immune to stun. He has Manila's range. He has piercing. His stats are good too. He just received a damage nerf. It doesn't matter. He's still awesome. Ultraman is great. He's not really seeing too much play right now because of the Bomb Squad is just going to run through him. But he's very good. He's very reliable. If you have Ultraman, you can level him up. No worries. He's one of the better characters in the game for sure. Just the current meta is not friendly to him at the moment, but he's extremely good, no doubt. No doubt. He's extremely good. Miller, if you bark and I got to cut this video again, so help me, I will literally lose my mind. I will literally lose my mind, Miller. You're so cute. All right, next is the train bombs. Train bombs are going to be a long-term investment. I hate the train bombs, and I hate that I have to talk positively about them, and I hate that I use them, and I cry myself to sleep every night that I do. But you can't beat them for 3 costs, man. You cannot stop that attack from coming through. It's just deleting any facility, the energy base. It's good against pre-evolutions. It's just good all around. It's a fantastic unit in the game. It's extremely versatile. Cure your leaders, basically, it's the only thing that they know how to do is just absolute zero cannon you and then train bomb you or hit you with train bombs the whole entire match. You can't stop the train bombs. There's literally no counter to it. It's way cheaper than the missiles, and I think it does more damage. It hits twice. Train bombs are good long-term investment. Next, we got all the newer units for you kids. All the newer units. All right, what do we got? Zeton. I'm going to put Zeton for now in the short-term investment. I'm not going to put him in the avoid because I think he's good. But I don't think he's as good as he could be. I think with like a few tweaks, Zeton could be phenomenal. He just got buffed, but I don't think it's going to really matter. Zeton is really fun, not the best. I'm not going to avoid Zeton because I think Zeton is cool. But Not really usable at the high ranks at the moment. Maybe one day there will be a card that works super well with Zayton, but there isn't at the moment. Zayton is just going to be short-term fun time for you. Not really worth taking up super high. Mephilas, I think, is in the same boat as Zayton. I know that there are some avid Mephilas defenders, but I couldn't tell you the last time I saw him in ranked that it wasn't used by like a whale or a YouTuber for content. So Mephilas is going in the short term. Mephilas is fun, maybe with like an energy reduction. Like if instead of a 6, he was a 5 cost, he would see more play. If he was a 4, he would be one of the better units in the game. It's just not the case at the moment, so he's a short-term investment. Oh, you know what? I'll actually put him in the long-term investment because in the... well, everything I said is still true. But in the studio mode, he has the highest token gains for G tokens. So if you want the most gold in studio mode, you have to invest in him. No, actually, you know what? I'll put him in the short term. No, I'll keep him in the long term for that. I put Giant Octopus in there for the long term. It's the same thing for Mephilas. Alright, Godzilla 2004 is a long-term maybe investment. I think he's fine. He's not crazy powerful compared to some of the other Godzillas that we have now. I think he's good. He's not great. You can make the most out of him for sure. He's extremely versatile, but I think GMK is better. I don't have much to say about him other than you can level him up and get success out of him, but I don't know. I might move him into the short term. I don't think he's extremely insane later on. I think he's fun, but I don't think he's like meta-defining or anything like that. So, sorry, Chef, but he's going there. For me, at least. Maybe I'll revise it. I don't think so. I think I'll keep him there. I'm not really feeling too hot about him. Evangelion Unit 1, though, long-term investment. Eva Unit 1... while on the field right now is kind of mid because of the way her mechanic works. It's like super clunky. She's a really, really good leader. She's a really good leader ability, and she's piercing, which is great. But even on the field, she's immune to explosions. And right now in the game, there's a ton of explosions going off. She's totally immune from it. So she's awesome right now on the field. That's all I got to say about that. She's great. I love her. I'm totally not biased about her at all, but she is actually a really good leader, and she is immune to all the explosions going off. So I think for right now especially, she is worth it. Otherwise I would have put her in the short term because as a unit she's not very, very good at the moment. Fourth Angel, long-term investment. Fourth Angel is crazy. At like level 30, 40 even, the Fourth Angel's explosion is ridiculous. This thing is hitting 1,000 damage around like level 20 or something like that, right? Some insane number of damage that it's hitting with the explosion. And by the way, it's not like Burning Godzilla, where Burning Godzilla has to build up the explosion and it does different damage depending on how high that charge is. Fourth Angel just explodes for a flat rate every single time at the same rate. So leveling up the Fourth Angel is going to get you crazy explosions out of him. Awesome unit, very, very sick. It's being seen everywhere right now, especially by high-ranking players. Fourth Angel is going to be around for a really, really long time, even after Fourth Angel disappears, for sure. Now, Mechagodzilla 21, probably the most requested unit to ever come to the game, is the most mid thing I've ever seen. Even his leader ability is alright. It's not super versatile. It's good for like one gimmicky push, but other than that, he's alright. And on the field, he's just okay. He's not anything super crazy to write home about. He's powerful, but his kit works against him where he has to get so close to do everything that he needs to do that it doesn't give him time to activate all of his attacks and get the most damage out of him, unfortunately. So he's going in the short term. Not a very good unit on the field, but he's fun and he looks cool. One of my favorite models, for sure. And then finally, we've come a long way. GMK. GMK is a long-term investment because GMK is insane. I almost said a bad word. Fucking sane. Alright, GMK being able to apply a debuff is huge. It's the first unit that is applying a debuff like he is. He's applying offense down or attack down, whatever you want to say. That's incredible. It's a 10% debuff when he dies as a unit. It's a 15% debuff when he uses his leader ability. That's crazy. It counters so many things. Batra. Biollante, Space Godzilla, G89, Kong. It's awesome. It's really, really good ability. It's super, super strong. He's going to be used for a very long time moving forward, I can already tell. So GMK is sweet. Cannot wait to see what else he brings to the table eventually. But GMK is awesome right now. Is being used a ton. So that's it. This is the whole list of characters that I think you should avoid leveling up, characters that I think are good to level up in the short term, but don't get too excited about them, and then characters that I think you can feel comfortable about leveling up throughout your career. There are a lot of characters in the long term. There are a lot of characters in this game that work really well. There are a lot of reliable characters in this game. You can really make a deck out of whatever you want. But there are some characters that are better than others. The long-term characters are significantly better. Alright, so that's the list. This video is super, super long. I hope it's useful in any capacity. Now, I got to do some editing because Miller was barking in the middle of the videos and I got to chop up the recordings and all that. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.